to you. I said good day, sir. I don't know what's up with that opening. What's up, witches? There it is. That's what I meant to say. I hope you guys are doing well today. It's a Sunday and I have a weekend brain. But that's the perfect kind of brain to shoot an unboxing. And look at this. Sorry. I will try to do minimal throat clearing. The Vlad Dracula Tarot. Oh my God, by Travis McHenry. I have a thing about Dracula. From, back to the Frank Langella movie from the 80s, I think it was, or the late 70s, to Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman. Just always been a fan. Yes, I have read Bram Stoker's novel a long, long time ago. I'd like to maybe get it again. But look at this lovely, lovely box with the gold foil lettering by Rockpool Publishing. Vlad the Impaler's life is much scarier than any blood-sucking Dracula. That is a fact. Vlad Dracula, the infamous medieval ruler of Romania, is the inspiration for Bram Stoker's legendary vampire in this tarot deck and booklet. With factual and divinatory text by Travis McHenry, author of the Occult Tarot and Angel Tarot, and 78 original woodcuts drawn by Russian artist Nikita Vuimin, this historically accurate tarot deck can be used as a divination tool or cherished as a macabre work of art. And we see a few images here. And I have to tell you, after getting this deck and looking at a few entries in the book and the historical part of it, I went on Prime to look for like a documentary. It's like, give me a good documentary on Vlad the Impaler. And I found a movie. Maybe I'll look it up and put a link below. And it was historically accurate, but it ended, the ending was like left it open for him to be immortal. But what really cracked me up was that the guy that played Dracula was the same guy that played it on Buffy versus Dracula. And I'm assuming that the Buffy episode came after the movie came out. I don't know, but he's perfect. And it was amazing. And look, we've got a little coffin here. It is very bright today. I've got my curtain like mostly closed, but as you can see, there's still a lot of light bleed. So look at the black ribbon. I mean, just look at the packaging. It's amazing. So you get this gorgeous book, and it's all the matte finish. I am such a fan of matte finish when you can actually shuffle the cards. Let's look for copyright. Okay, 2021. It's a new deck from Rockpool. Contents, introduction, notes. Let's go straight for the artwork on this one. So here are the backs, but here's the best part. Yes, they done it up right. Rockpool, well done. So the back is just like crosses in a circle. Could be like swords or stakes in a circle, but sure look like crosses to me. All right. Let's zoom you in, huh? How about that? Okay. So here we have the Fool. Pardon me. And he's just kind of standing there in his ragtag clothes while someone chills on a stake behind him. And there is a subtext here. It says, the Fool, the Peasant, and his wife. So we know that this is not Dracula. This is a peasant. The Magician, Vlad Dracula. And you can see, I mean, the woodcuts are amazing. And, the images looking very much like Vlad the Impaler. The High Priestess, Vlad's Transylvanian princess. So we do see images that while the magician here has the four tools, the sword and the stake instead of the wand, the pentacle and the cup, the high priestess echoes the colors of the high priestess card. She's got a note in her hand and a candle kind of showing enlightenment maybe, but they don't really stick close to traditional tarot images. And then we have the Empress. Let the world see where I have been. I want to stop and read something of the description of this so that you know how this deck is being presented. The gruesome scene depicted on this card concerns one of Vlad's mistresses. She was afraid of losing him to another woman, so she told him that she was pregnant with his child. When he later discovered she'd been lying about the pregnancy, Vlad ordered her to be cut open, flayed alive, and flaying means skinned, if you didn't know, and put on display on the public street with the words, "Let the world see where I have been." This act served two purposes: a strong warning not to manipulate the voivode's action, voivode, and a way of verifying that his mistress was not actually pregnant. And what if she had been? Holy shit. Vlad's mistress wished to serve as a mother figure but did not actually conceive, and she was punished for her deception. The mistress was made to be literally open and honest after she was cut open by Vlad Dracula. So, and this is historical fact, folks. The Emperor, Mehmed the Conqueror. And, also, as the movie showed, he was seen as a hero to the Wallachian people, the Romanian people. He got their country back from the Ottomans. And the Hierophant is Pope Pius II. The Lovers, Vlad and his wife. The Chariot, Vlad's army expelling the Turks. So again, we really are more in the line of Hierophant, that certainly looks like the Hierophant. There's the Lovers. The Chariot is just him on a horse. So we are really deferring to the historical depictions that they're trying to put out here. Strength. Your whole being belongs to hell. Yay. The Hermit, Vlad imprisoned in Visegrad. Pardon me. The Wheel of Fortune, these suffered according to their deeds. Yikes. Justice, Vlad as Pontius Pilate judging Christ. Interesting. Let's see if this is like an event. Around 1460, an unknown artist painted a series of panels depicting religious scenes, possibly in Vienna. The panels resided at Valenge Castle in Slovenia for many years until they were brought to Munich to be restored in 1933. One panel depicts Christ being held by soldiers while Pontius Pilate sits in judgment of him. Historians studying the painting discovered that the model for Pilate appears to be Vlad Dracula. The subject's crown and the physical appearance of the character closely match most contemporary depictions of Vlad, and it's likely the artist had access to the many pamphlets describing Vlad as a cruel leader being printed in German-speaking territories at that time. That the artist would select Vlad as the embodiment of hardened rational judgment according to the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law suggests Vlad's clever psychological implementations of justice rather than his reputation for cruelty. So, interesting. The Hanged Man, the wages of truth in Wallachia. Death, Vlad beheaded by the Ottomans. Temperance, a slow execution. Oh my God. The Devil, Vlad the Impaler. So, I don't really see right off the rip here using this deck as an actual reading deck. It's pretty gruesome. Deliciously gruesome. The Tower, better her body rot than be led to captivity, is a quote, and so that's a quote. The Star, watching blood flow gave him courage. I mean, that's the Star card, come on. Not at all. No, there's no reference here to the traditional star. The moon, Vlad betrayed by the Hungarians. The sun, Vlad and Radu released from captivity. Radu was his brother. Judgment, Vlad's father and brother murdered. The world, Vlad Dracula anointed as voivode. Okay, I need to find out. Do we have a... Yeah, we don't have a glossary. Give me one hot second here. Well, let's pull up. I'm going to pull up a browser so I can look that up. Also, okay, is a title denoting a military leader or warlord in Central, Southeastern, and Eastern Europe since the early Middle Ages, primarily referred to governors and military commanders of Hungarian, Balkan, or some other Slavic-speaking populations. Voivode. Okay. And then we are on, so that was the world card here, Vlad being anointed. And now we're into the suits, and the coins come first. Coin of Vlad Dracul. Two of coins, Vlad Dracul and Vlad Dracula and Vlad Dracul. I'm so sorry. Okay. Vlad Dracula, let's see what the difference is. Okay, it doesn't really say. I'm not going to read that whole thing. Let's just keep going. So we've got the two coins there. We've got the three of coins. Saxons building the Bucharest Palace. Okay, so this does kind of hearken to the traditional three of coins, showing planning, collaboration. Vlad paying tribute to the Ottomans. Sticking away of money, I guess. Vlad attacking foraging Ottoman soldiers. Is the 5. The 6, wealthy Saxon merchants of Transylvania. The 7, boyars forced to build Castle Dracula. Okay. The 8 of coins, I have found an extra ducat. Interesting. So no vibe here of like apprenticeship or working on something. 9 of coins, a farmer must cut the weeds and roots. The 10, Vlad's hidden treasure. The page is Vlad the monk, Vlad Dracula's brother. The knight is Minea the bad, Vlad's eldest son. The queen is Justina Zalagi, Vlad's second wife. The king is Dan the Third, forced to dig his own grave. Ouch. The ace of cups is Vlad's golden chalice. 2, Vlad's promises to Hungary and Turkey. The 3 is Vlad and the Benedictine monks. Okay, I can't flip these easily either way. The 4 is the beggar's feast. And so, you know, the thing immediately that I am drawn to do is just read through the book for the history. The 5, no one will be poor in my realm. So I'm going to burn everything. 6 of cups, Romanians honoring Vlad Dracula. The 7, serving soup from a boiled thief. Oh, yes, he engaged in cannibalism. 8 of cups, Saxon traitors boiled alive. Traitor soup, good with turnips. 9 of cups, Rhodes celebrating Vlad's victories. 10 of cups, Vlad Dracula and his family. These funny looking kids. Page, young Vlad watching executions. The knight, Radu the handsome, Vlad's brother. Queen, Princess Maria Wojcita of Moldavia. and the king, Prince Stefan III of Moldavia. So, of course, you've got historical figures here that aren't going to have meaning to you until you read. Ace of Stakes, an impaling stake. I love that it's stakes instead of wands. The 2, the deceit of Hamza and Katabolinos. 3 of Stakes, Dracula's dreadful and curious things. Oh my God. 4 of Stakes, the courtyard of Targovice Palace. Welcoming. The 5 of Stakes, Wallachians fighting the Ottomans. Okay. The 6 is the Forest of the Impaled. Jesus. So this is usually the victory card, right? I guess that shows a victory for somebody. 7 of Stakes, he placed their parts on stakes. The 8, arrows drove the Turks to their ships. All right, so that's got a vibe, you know, things flying at you. 9 of Stakes, Vlad Dracula dining among the impaled. And the 10, killed by many spears, and thus he died. The Page, Chief Falconer Hamza Bey. The Knight is Voivode Basarab III. The Queen is Lady Kalinikia, Vlad's great-grandmother. And the King is Emperor Sigismund. Now we have the swords. The Ottoman Kilij, that's got to be the name of that sword. The 2, cutting the ears off a Turkish slave. The 3, the nailing of the turbans. The 4, tomb of Vlad Dracula. 5, Radu attacking Poinari Castle. The 6, Wallachians crossing the frozen Danube. Okay, that's got a vibe of the original. 7, Vlad's narrow escape. The 8 is Vlad led to Hungarian captivity. The 9 is Radu the Handsome and Sultan Mehmed. And by the way, the Sultan in the movie that I watched was played by Roger Daltrey of The Who. That was fun too. 10 of Swords, Michael Zalagi sawn in half. Holy shit, man. Page of Swords, Michael Zalagi, regent of Hungary. And then he's 2 regents. The Knight of Swords is Captain General John Hunyadi. The Queen is the Queen Mother Elizabeth Zalagi. And the King is King Matthias of Hungary. All right. Yeah. Definitely an appetite killer. Oh, stop. All righty. Let's go back some more. There we go. Right, now, let's get my charcoal lit. And then we'll take a little walk through the book. Poof, poof, poof. All right. So, and interestingly, it says here illustrations by Nikita Vuimin, and on the back of the box it credits her, but on the front, you know, it just says Travis McHenry. So one assumes that the concept is his alone. All right. The introduction. When I first began writing this, I assumed it would be enough to simply post a short caption next to an image of the tarot card. However, after a trip to Romania and after pushing past the modern historians and researching the original source material, I realized there were stories that had not yet been told, or at least interesting details that had been glossed over by previous Dracula scholars. In 1992, at the age of 12, I checked out the hardcover edition of Dracula, a biography of Vlad the Impaler by Radu Florescu and Raymond McNally. That's Rand McNally, I'm thinking. At my school library, I had been completely obsessed with vampires, and Dracula was my favorite. Reading about Vlad's life made him scarier than any bloodsucker in a black cape from the movies, with many depictions striking me as acts of unwarranted brutality. I didn't finish the book. I bought a copy of Dracula, Prince of Many Faces, Florescu and McNally's updated version of the official biography, and was struck by the way Vlad's life is told in a series of little vignettes due to the structure of the original source material, pamphlets, poems, and letters, which present his life as line-by-line expositions of individual atrocities. I thought it would be awesome to create a series of illustrations in the style of traditional woodcuts depicting scenes from Vlad's life that helped readers better understand the true breadth of his rule over Wallachia. I realized many events from his life were eerily similar to scenes from the Tarot. For example, the peasant with the ill-fitting clothes seemed like a real-life version of the Fool card, while Sultan Mehmed and Pope Pius II embodied the Emperor and the Hierophant. The Visconti Sforza Tarot deck, the art for which has been adapted for all successive Tarot decks, was created for the Duke of Milan in 1451, just a few years prior to Vlad ascending the throne as voivode of Wallachia. Thus, the artwork used by the creator of the oldest known Tarot deck would have been contemporary with the story of Vlad the Impaler's life and times. I think that might be coincidental. Although this book was intended to be a collection of fascinating pictures and light reading, as I peeled back the layers of Vlad's life, I noticed the numerous translation errors that created incorrect pictures of famous events. In the pursuit of accuracy, I translated many original documents myself, being confronted by Italian, Old Church, Slavonic, German, Russian, French, Latin, and Romanian, although I don't personally know any of these languages. I passed passages that were in disagreement with established historical record to experts for assistance in confirming or correcting my original translations. This book is a far more scholarly work than I set out to write. I hope the woodcuts that accompany each story will help set the scene and paint a clearer picture in your mind of who was doing what and when. The world of Vlad the Impaler was a complex maze of political and military alliances that shifted frequently, making friends out of enemies and impaled victims out of former friends. Okay, and then we have notes. Vlad the Impaler, a.k.a. Vlad Tepes, a.k.a. Vlad III of Wallachia, is referred to by the name he himself used and also what he was called by most chroniclers during his lifetime, Vlad Dracula. Ottomans and Turkish are interchangeable. Castle Dracula is known as Poenari Castle. Vlad's father is Vlad Dracul, not Vlad II Dracul. Wow. Romania refers to the entire territory contained in modern-day Romania. Otherwise, Wallachia, Transylvania, Moldavia are used. Okay, so just short notes there. Using Vlad Dracula Tarot can be used like any other Tarot deck with whatever spread you may feel most comfortable using. There are also special kinds of readings you can do to get the most out of it. Personality reading, reading for overcoming weaknesses, the Orthodox cross spread. Okay, so those are the readings they give you. Let's see. Reading for overcoming weaknesses. Medieval Europe was a fierce place to live that required strength and resilience in order to survive. Plague, war, and famine were part of daily life for everyone, no matter their class or profession. Choose as your significator a card that is traditionally seen as bad in most tarot decks, such as the Tower, the Devil, or the Nine of Swords. As you lay out the cards around it, try to relate to the card from a point of strength rather than acting as a victim. I mean, that's really good advice on its own. Example 1, the Tower. We generally picture ourselves as being the person falling from the tower, or as though the tower represents all we have built now crashing down. Consider this. Vlad built Poenari Castle over 500 years ago, and it's still standing today. Look at the tower from his point of view rather than the point of view of his wife, who flung herself over the edge unnecessarily. Now, reading for overcoming weaknesses, it doesn't tell you, like, how to put cards around it and what they might mean. It just says pick a weak card and put cards around it. So I think I will go, when I do a reading with this, I'm just going to go with 3. All right, look at the black trim on the pages. I love it. So here we have the majors. No intro to those. We just have a description of the image and then the divinatory meaning. So, example, the meanings of the Fool card, a card of new beginnings, are captured in the story of the peasant and his wife. A fool goes through life wearing ill-fitting clothes, but does not care that his garments are making him stand out from everyone else. Often new beginnings, either positive or negative, come from outside forces greatly disrupting your life. Sometimes the universe knows better than you do that it is time to move forward to a better place, which you can't do unless the previous parts are destroyed or otherwise change. Interesting. So we don't have like pithy keywords here. We have a description of the meaning. And we've got colored images. And now let's go to same deal with the minors. There's a bigger woodcut. I mean, the artwork is beautiful. And same thing here. But it does seem that with, and okay, some of these, let me kind of roll that back with the meanings. Meanings of the Fool card, new beginnings. Okay, so the magician is able to change circumstances, blah, blah, blah. The high priestess, it just goes on to describe the meanings, but then I'm seeing in later cards we do get keywords, starting with the Hierophant: holiness, religion, mercy, passion, love, attraction, power, energy, action, courage, war, revenge, troubles, conquest. So they kind of shift gears just part the way in and start giving us actual keywords. So with the coins, yes, Ace of Coins, prosperity, contentment, pleasure, financial gain, and money. And then it describes more about the card itself. And then when we get to the back, we end with the King of Swords. We have a bibliography. And then we have about the author, about Travis McHenry. Acknowledgments, but no information on the person that did the wonderful woodcuts. And then here's his also, his Angels Tarot and Occult Tarot. All right, let's start with a cleanse. Start with a smoke cleanse. Yes, we're not going to immolate. I feel Dracula going, oh, burn it, burn it. Right. And then just a bit of salt and water. I'm feeling the need to cleanse this with a bell too. And then let's invite in allies and ancestors, guides and guardians. Come be present here and help me pull interesting readings out of this deck. Help me to see with two sets of eyes. And give me information that is meaningful and helpful for my viewers. Okay, let's do our standard question of what do we need to know and to do today in order to, ooh, they shuffle nicely. Ooh, they're a little stiff. In order to thrive. So they do all right shuffling this part, but then, oh, they'll loosen up. Oh, I love the gold so much. I'm going to do the full 7 shuffles with this. They say that 7 riffle shuffles is the best randomization. That was 4. Of a deck of cards. 5, and to even randomize it more, I'm going to like cut a few times. 2 more. So, I mean, already, if you're a flan, if you are a custard of Dracula, if you are a fan of Dracula, already get this deck. And now we find out whether it's going to be a reading deck or just a wonderful addition to the collection. I mean, it already is a wonderful addition to the collection. So, up, and we got a jumper already. The King of Cups, Prince Stefan of Moldavia. Let's read about him. In terms of the question. The turbulent political situation in medieval Moldavia was brought to an end with the rise of Prince Stefan III, also known as Stefan the Great. He was 10 years younger than Vlad Dracula, but the future rulers forged a close bond while Vlad was preparing his return to the throne and Stefan was in training to become a monarch himself. When he took the throne in 1457, he kept the Ottoman Empire happy by paying their required tribute, which would ultimately lead to a break between the two monarchs. Stefan became a hated adversary of the Ottomans and stopped paying the tribute. However, his continued military victories against the empire caused financial difficulties, so he convinced the Hungarian king to release Vlad from imprisonment to help him reacquire the throne of Wallachia. The Ottomans invaded Wallachia in 1477 and assassinated Vlad. Stefan ruled Moldavia and defended it from Ottoman and Polish attacks for the next 30 years, eventually dying from the complications of gangrene. Stefan's energy, enthusiasm, and faithfulness to his friends made him a powerful leader. He is still celebrated today. And actually, yes, I think it was, I'm trying to think of who Roger Daltrey actually played, and I do think it was the Ottoman Emperor. So the meanings here, the divinatory meaning, and I'm glad we got a court card. A fair man who is good with business and the law, kindness, willingness, friendship, honesty, integrity, and imagination. Quite extensive meaning. The King of Cups can represent a person who has an exuberant personality, but it will always be someone who is helpful and always available when called upon. The presence of water in the suit of cups can indicate a person whose loyalty shifts, although not with evil intent. This card is also connected with business promotion and financial gain, often through the help of someone with great authority. So I like the way they are, talking about the presence of water means it can shift. Prince Stefan is rightly remembered as a great ruler. He successfully maintained Moldavia's independence and repeatedly tried to expand his country's borders while simultaneously defending the same borders against his adversaries. Stefan was a true friend to Vlad Dracula, although they had their differences at times. He not only ousted Radu the Handsome from the throne, but actually provided a protective personal guard for Vlad in his time of need. Stefan's energy, enthusiasm, and faithfulness to his friends is part of what made him such a powerful leader and a historical figure who's celebrated today. So, what is the first thing we need to do in order to go from survival into thriving? Is be true to our friends, nurture our friendships and relationships, know that we're not in this alone. And, it being a king, this is someone with mastery of this. So, yeah, I would say to, and also to help. When we are feeling helpless ourselves, it can really help to help someone else. It can help generate the helping energy. And then we feel when we're able to help someone else, we don't feel as unable to help ourselves. So I'm going to take 3 under this. Interesting. So we get the 5 of Swords, and then the King of Swords, and then the 3 of Cups. So we've got Radu attacking Poenari Castle. We've got King Matthias of Hungary, and then we've got Vlad and the Benedictine monks. Now let's go to the 5 of Swords first. After Mehmed II failed to defeat Vlad Dracula, he turned back to the Ottoman Empire, leaving Radu the Handsome in charge of eliminating his own brother. Radu stormed the countryside, rallying the boyars to his cause by reminding them of Vlad's cruel acts and heavy taxes. Radu knew he could hold the title of voivode if Vlad were out of the picture. Radu knew exactly where his brother would be hiding, Poenari Castle. He positioned the Janissary Janissary Corps, I don't know what Janissary is, the soldiers basically, in a ring around the base of the mountain, then hauled Turkish artillery pieces to a clearing in the hills across the valley. The siege was ineffective, as the Sultan had given Radu light bombards only and Poenari's walls were too thick to breach. The castle could only be taken by force, so Radu's men scrambled up the mountain trail, but their prize had slipped away in the night. Even though his main objective was thwarted, Radu had finally gained the upper hand in the conflict for Wallachia's throne. His brother's last stronghold had been overtaken, and Vlad was now a fugitive. Okay, let's go to the meaning. Empty victory, defeat, dishonor, and destruction. Okay, so they took the castle, but they didn't take the person. So it didn't have any meaning. So there's empty victory. Five of Swords represents a feeling of being wronged by the world and the bitterness that follows, along with the negative emotions that can cause you to sabotage yourself and be your own worst enemy. Oof. Can indicate a fear of success and of accepting responsibility when confidence is lacking. It's not a card of total defeat, but rather represents a low point in the struggle that can be redeemed. All right, I mean, these are really excellent, well thought out meanings that kind of add to my basic understanding of the traditional tarot. Radu's assault on the castle began as an even playing field. He had guns and soldiers while Vlad held the high ground in an impregnable fortress. If it were not for the unfortunate suicide of his wife weakening his morale and his decision to flee in the night, Vlad would have fought a ferocious battle to repel the invaders and hold the fortress. However, knowing that the boyars of Wallachia were against him and all was essentially lost, he gave up his castle and fled to preserve his own life. Fascinating. Okay, so how does this relate to our question of how we go from just survival into thriving? So this card can talk about just survival, being under siege, and rather than feeling like you've got the wherewithal to stand and fight, you just bail out. So there's something. This is our tendency to just cut and run when things get overwhelming. Now, King of Swords. This is going to be fascinating. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to go to divinatory. Power and command, a friend and counselor, judgment, law, and authority. The King of Swords fights battles and wins wars, although he does not necessarily make him. This does not necessarily make him warlike or overly aggressive. This is a tactician who can make a plan and put it into successful action and whose rule is not questioned. This card denotes the royal spirit even more than the kings of other suits. The King of Swords can also be a friend or advisor who provides guidance about the future and may be helpful even when the problem at hand is not an actual combat. Okay, so that's a much shorter meaning. So definitely that leadership, who can think his way into a good plan and then execute the plan. So this is executive ability and not being questioned. Authority. This is real authority here. So we have this helpful spirit up here. Helpful and softer and emotional, emotionally supportive. But then we've got this, we've got to make a plan and execute it. So we start coming out by, I'm feeling helpless. I'm not thriving. I'm just scraping by. And we can show some compassion to ourselves, possibly show some compassion to a friend or someone else that needs help, even if this is someone you don't know, volunteering, donating to a charity, something like that. And then we have this, victory that feels incomplete, hollow, feeling like being under siege and I just need to get the hell out of here. And then we go to making a plan, having a plan and being able to execute it. So what I'm seeing about, pulling ourselves out of just this, the best I can do is run, is to, reach out to help someone else and help yourself by making a plan. Even if it's just a plan, start simple. If you're overwhelmed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, start with the simplest of things. Set one task for yourself that you absolutely know you can accomplish for the day. And then there's one day where I accomplished what I set out to do. And so you move forward. Then you start gaining confidence in yourself as someone who can make a plan and execute it. Right? And then let's see over here at Three of Cups. Vlad and the Benedictine monks. The conclusion of any matter is the divinatory meaning. Perfection, merriment, and I like the conclusion. That I've never thought of the Three of Cups as just denoting something has come to a conclusion, as an achievement and a celebration. It makes sense, though. Merriment, unexpected advancement, hospitality, and discovery. The Three of Cups, which traditionally depicts three women raising cups aloft in celebration, represents happiness and success. This card is connected with good health and positive business advancement, especially when there's a third party that will provide advancement or help move an enterprise forward. Okay, so I think what we're talking about here is just that. Doing something where you really know you can excel. It doesn't matter how simple the task is. Like this past week, I had some paperwork to get finished and put in the mail, and I'd been shoving it aside, and I made it a task for the day, and I actually got that task done. And then another day, I got my license renewed, and it's like, hooray, I got something done. And just that feeling can be enough, that feeling of, hooray, I got something done, hooray, I was successful, I accomplished something, can be enough to bust the doldrums and to move you into a more empowered feeling, a feeling of being successful. All right, let's take a couple more here. Let's look at Three of Stakes in the Wheel of Fortune. Strength, enterprise, success in business, cooperation, and a good partnership, even if you don't put them up on a stick. The Three of Stakes represents established strength and success already being enjoyed. Yes, ships come in, already accomplished. It is a card of commerce that can indicate a cooperative effort that will reap financial rewards. Even when this card is in the reverse position, it still suggests a very positive outcome, which brings me to the fact that he has not talked about reversed meanings. There are not reversed meanings mentioned anywhere. Yeah, there are not reversed meanings given. This is, it says even when reversed, but he doesn't talk about, he doesn't talk about prepping the deck. He doesn't talk about reverses, more general tarot reading stuff, like the difference between the major and the minor. We just go into the majors. Boom. Okay. So it really is more about the frame, about it being a Dracula tarot and the history and all that, rather than a way to really learn the tarot. Vlad's dreadful and curious things. So strength, enterprise, success in business, and the Wheel of Fortune. All right, right away, this is telling me, when we have that feeling of success, because the Three of Cups is the feeling of it, the satisfaction you get, and we go from that satisfaction into being able to really execute things on a more tangible, manifest level, being able to plan and know that we've got some success behind us, some success under the belt, and then able to move forward. The Wheel of Fortune says then the wheel begins to turn again, we move forward. Okay, destiny, success, the passage of time, and changing fortunes. The wheel was an excruciatingly painful way to die. It was a common method of torture at the time. A victim would have their limbs attached to the spokes, and as the wheel was turned, their arms and legs would break. I don't know how that works, but The Wheel of Fortune is viewed as being a positive card, as it represents the constantly changing circumstances we all live with. Things do not always go your way, but eventually your situation will improve, although the inverse is also true, as nobody stands at the top forever. All right, so just executing a plan, being helpful to others and yourself, acknowledging the desire to cut and run, but then sitting back and looking at it in a more cold, calculating way, outside of the emotions. We can make a plan and then execute it, and then we do get the emotional payoff, which then leads us into more energy, acknowledging that yes, we've accomplished a lot in the past, we do have success behind us, and that helps us to move forward and to turn the wheel. All right. I think you can get a good reading out of it, but oi, you gotta go through some stuff to get there. All right, you guys, as usual, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you liked, oh, come back, Luna, for crying out loud. I don't know why it does that. So, if you enjoyed that reading, there's like 260 some other ones to look at, or 50 some other ones in my unboxing videos. And if you would like a personal reading from me, even though I can't string a sentence together today to save my life, please look down below, find that Amazon wish list, and peruse it. If there's a deck that you already like that you think I would enjoy, send it to me. If there's a deck you're curious about, send that to me. You will get to see the entire deck and have a reading done for you personally to make your decision whether you want it or not. So, hey, what a deal, right? And if you do decide to send me a gift deck, please let me know what name you would like to be called by, if any, and if you have a specific question. Remember, the more specific the question, the more specific the answer. All right? And if you feel like donating to me and my channel, there's a couple links down below to do that as well. One thing that will cost you no money whatsoever is hitting the subscribe button and hitting the like button so everybody knows where I'm at and what I'm doing. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I will see you next time. Until then, it's Luna. Blessed be.